So let's get into it, shall we? Today we're reviewing A Weekend to Forget, a suspense drama romance. They described it as romance on Prime Videos, where it's currently streaming after a short but impressive cinema run. This movie has a runtime of 97 minutes. Hi friends, lovers of African cinema. Welcome to my channel and Happy New Year. I don't know why I'm so excited. Why am I so excited? Because it's a new year. This is my first video of this year, and may this year be good to us as individuals. May this year be good to you and your families. May this year be good to us as an industry. I know you've noticed my hair, so let me just get that out of the way so there's no awkwardness. If you're an old timer, of course you've noticed I've had my hair for nearly 19 years. Yes, I cut it off. Did I ball my eyes out? Yes, I did. Did I make a video? Yes. Am I ever going to post it? Probably not, but I needed to have that. Anyway, you guys just get ready for an assortment and a parade of weird hairdos and wigs and whatever for the following, I don't know, weeks or months or however long it takes me to figure out my new face and my new identity. At the moment, I myself am still a stranger to me. I do not know this face, so just roll with it, okay? All right, let's get on with this movie. A Weekend to Forget. This movie is written by Joy Isibewaji, directed by Damola Ademola, and it's a production collaboration between Film One and Inkblot Studios. Its synopsis on Prime says, the reunion of 7 friends takes a deadly turn when old tensions resurface, leading to a murder. Trust is shattered, turning friends into enemies, and they must unravel the mystery behind the murder. First of all, I'd like to say well done, huge well done to the makers of this film, particularly the director, because this is his directorial debut. So well done to him, that's Damola. And I'd also like to say well done to the writer, because this is a murder mystery, right? And specifically whodunits, they're a difficult genre to pull off because it's a bit more technical kind of story to tell. You have to give enough background about the characters to make them eligible as suspects. You have to keep the tension and the suspense alive, the pace trotting along, all the while holding the story together enough to keep it interesting. And this is no easy feat. What is this movie about? A Weekend to Forget is a murder mystery about 5 friends who decide to get together and spend the weekend catching up and reconnecting after a very long time apart. 2 of the friends bring along their significant others, and as the story unfolds, it becomes apparent that although they have grown in many ways, their friendship is still very much characterized by the same dynamic they had back in college. There's a subtle snobbishness, rivalry, and competitiveness among them. But, these friends are determined to not let any of that deter them as they launch headlong into what they expect to be a weekend of fun and no holds barred debauchery, or at least that's how it's presented to us by the host, the character of Ferdy, beautifully played by Elozonam of PBN. However, a murder occurs. That always ruins things, doesn't it? And everything is turned on its head as they begin to grapple with this situation that threatens to upend their lives and the realization that they have in their midst a killer. Suspicion flies back and forth, throwing up secrets that they would rather remain buried. Hard decisions have to be made, and eventually an unlikely candidate is revealed as the killer. But this movie deviates from your typical whodunit because it ends with everyone becoming jointly compromised, and at the end, everyone changes in fundamental ways so that all involved will never be the same again. There's no clear protagonist or antagonist in this movie. Guys, I'd like to ask that you like this video. If you haven't, please subscribe to my channel. Please support my channel, and I'm happy to have you here. PSA, spoiler alert. If you've not watched this movie, now's a good time to pause, go watch it, then come back and enjoy this review. I'll try, but I can't promise that it won't contain any spoilers, but I'll do my best. Let's get straight into it. I'm feeling so restless. I feel like I need to be standing. What worked? Whew. Good character introductions. Each member of this ensemble cast got what I would say was a good introduction. Right? The best introduction being given to the character of Chief Ajasa, that's the one played by Akin Lewis. Casting, this was a great cast. Although, some did better than others, obviously, but the chemistry between the characters was exactly as the film needed between all participants, and to the extent that each relationship required. And then that takes us to the performances. All of these actors, they each held their own fine with perhaps 2 exceptions, but to a large extent, this cast was really great and the performances were also really great. Even the ones that I would say were not great, they weren't terrible either. Elozana, he did incredibly well. I really like him and I think he's talented and I'd like to see more of him. Stanze, he was great and he was so natural in this role, but then that's neither more or less than I expect of him. So, you know, Uche Montana, she was also good. This was not her best performance. I've seen her better. And also, this was a role I feel like I've seen her in many times before. I think she's starting to be typecast. She is typecast. But, you know, there's a subtle quality to her acting that shines through, you know, in this movie from time to time, as it does most times when I see her. But like I said, this was not her best performance that I've seen. Notable mentions, though, are Inidima. Inidima is impeccable, always. I don't mean in this movie, I mean all the time she's impeccable. I don't think she gets enough credit. Daniel Effiong, everything I said about Inidima, and also he's dreamy. Okay. The 2 performances that kind of wavered for me were Erika Onwe Dilim, I hope I'm saying her name right, and Neo Okofure. Especially Neo, his acting was pendulum, but you know, like I said, not terrible. Akin Lewis, I mean, he's a good actor, right? He's been around a long time, his experience, but in this role, I don't know. I think maybe I think writers should stop writing villain in the script, because I almost feel as though once people see themselves named the villain, it just takes a great actor into this cartoonish depiction of what they think a villain. But of course, I'll always blame the directing for that. And I know that I've said this very recently. In fact, probably in my very last review, I said that somebody who was supposed to be a villain ended up looking a bit cartoonish in that role. But as far as Akin Lewis, I don't know why we're talking about this character of Chief Ajasa, because as far as I'm concerned, he wasn't in this movie. I'll come to that. The story, the idea, the premise, the structure, and the pacing, these were all mostly done well. The suspense was well handled, as was the eventual reveal. I saw it from a mile away, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it was done very well. That's just me. I could tell, again, I'm a writer, but you know, I said the suspense was done very well, but suspense is different from tension, and I'll get to that. This movie had a clear theme, and you could tell the thematic focus of this movie. There were a lot of subtle sub-themes, but the thematic focus of this movie was clear. I'll say the statement of this movie is what people are capable of when faced with challenging circumstances, or, well, challenging circumstances reveal who people are. And it was even stated in dialogue, you know, without sounding preachy.
Unfortunately, you only truly get to know people when they're desperate.
And so you see, the manner that it was stated was done so creatively that it actually doubled as great subtextual messaging, as well as unintentional double entendre on the part of the character, right? Then here's another instance also where great double entendre was used to really good effect.
A fucking leech. That's what you do. You attach yourself to people's lives and suck them dry.
Brilliant. Now, there were some instances of really good plot development, like the events leading up to Shima finding the test kit. I'm going to say that that was actually the only believable instance where a suspicion fell on a character. All the other instances, like Tito's porn video, Bem's former reputation as a cultist, Freddie's disgraceful exit from the UK, none of those made them murder suspects, and the movie trying to make that happen made that association seem pretty tenuous and implausible. Now, several questions were left unanswered, storylines were left open-ended and unresolved, and I love that. I don't like when a movie gives you nothing to do, nothing to think about. At the end, everything is just packaged into a bow on top. I hate that. It's neat that the movie did not try to force these resolutions. Now, if only it had just left it at that.
You just couldn't leave shit alone, could you?
Okay. Product placement in this movie was done quite tastefully, not for its subtlety, but because it was written into the plot, and that's the best way to do it.
I saw what you did.
Me too! Yeah, I think the fact that they didn't shy away from also showing products that were not being advertised made the ads a bit less obvious. Production design. I'm going to highlight the 2 aspects of production design that worked, which are the costume and makeup. Isn't that something? Inidima's wig. I mean, all the hair was great, but Inidima's wig, yeah, I said wig. It was a wig. So, you know, I've got to get me one of those. So I'm highlighting those two specific aspects because really they are the only aspects that I can talk about as far as production design, and the rest of it was pretty subpar. Whew, I can't believe I'm done with the what worked section. Let's get to what did not work. I had a lot of issues with this movie, but let me say this, that these issues don't carry equal weight, and I'm thinking that maybe in the future I'll consider splitting this section into two parts, which is the things that could have been done better and then the things that were absolutely inexcusable. But I think you can make that distinction as we go along. So let's get into it, shall we? The story. As I said, the major elements of story worked, which were the structure, the premise, the idea, the pacing, etc. Those worked. The arcs were clearly defined. I've already mentioned that the thematic focus was clear. Just the story worked as a premise, as an idea. It was great and I was excited about it. However, in execution, between the lines, things were a lot less competent. The plot did not work. There were holes and so many instances of plot convenience. There were choices for plot events that generally weakened the narrative. There were opportunities to elevate the narrative that just were not utilized. There were setups without payoffs. In film, everything on screen matters. Those brownies mattered because especially for a movie like this, you see the brownies and the first thing you're thinking is, were they laced and does it come into play? Same as with the phone lines that were down, the power outage, which isn't it ironic that we had such a great setup, which was the power tripping, but when we needed to have an organic power tripping, never mind. The only okay setup as far as misdirection is an important part of this kind of plot, and the only one that was done well to an extent was the knife, because it made you think that, oh, this would be the murder weapon. However, they destroyed it with some just incompetent camera work. There were also quite a few unsatisfying attempts at misdirection and just quite a bit of pointless drama as well. Layo's many phone calls with her mom, dead end. Lisa with the medication, dead end. Lisa's dad, Chief Ajasa, I already said that man was not in this movie. Everything about that. Why was he so prominent for a character that was not even in this movie? I said that he got the best character introduction, right? Which simultaneously was good and bad, because first of all, that's a masterclass in how you do a character introduction. It was so visual, you saw that. But you reserve that kind of introduction for a major character. You don't give your best character introduction to a minor character that does not matter. And then we had two big scenes for him. What did it matter to us in this movie? He was supposed to constitute this looming and imminent threat in this movie, but it never quite materialized, right? And listen, whatever they are planning for part 2, because that was teased in the end, it's none of our business. We're only concerned with this movie. And by the way, what's happening in this scene?
But I was able to get a check from his manager yesterday.
Just that scene did not need to happen in this movie, but also, whose point of view was that? I have no idea. Now, dialogue. There was quite a bit of unimpressive dialogue in this movie. There was on-the-nose dialogue, there was inane dialogue, there was irrelevant dialogue, there was filler dialogue, there was even misleading dialogue and just plain misrepresentation of facts. Here's an example. This was what was said.
He hit to her neck and her head.
And yet, this is what actually happened. And so it could only have been one blow. Again, the details. Also, in that scene, she could just as easily have declared it an accident. She had the qualifications to say whatever it was. Why did she declare it a murder? Now, I know the answer as far as what needed to happen because of what this movie is, which is a whodunit. It cannot be a whodunit if it was an accident. Problem is not that it was labeled a murder. My problem is the person who labeled it a murder. How did that serve them? Another instance of confusing and again misleading dialogue.
She likes you. She's just anxious to have grandkids, that's all.
The reason I say it's confusing and misleading is she dislikes her son-in-law and she just wants a grandchild. The implication there is that she cannot have a grandchild because of him. So that's misleading for no reason. The relationship between the characters was not always clear. Sometimes they seemed like they knew each other really well, and then at other times they didn't. Lisa, she seemed to know next to nothing about Bem, and then she dated Shima for 8 whole months and she knew nothing about him. However, in that instance, I could concede that it could be a commentary on how people do relationships these days. You know, all very surface. People date, they know nothing about each other. Most dating is hookup and transactional and stuff like that. Now, here is something that I cannot forgive.
Shema is going to be there as well with his wife, Lyle. They're just swimming in real estate money.
Pause. So he said that, how many people are called Shima? So you hear such specific description, Shima real estate, and your antenna doesn't even go up even a little, even just to say, I know. And if you didn't, it's fine if the story did not want her to think about it, but you write it into the story. I'd say that characterization was adequate enough, but character development not so much. In a film like this, people forced to be together, the main driving force here is the characters. So we have to know enough about them to be intrigued and then to eventually be surprised in order for the reveal to work. We didn't know them, so I don't know if anybody really cared which of these people was the killer. I know I didn't. For me, it could have been any one of them. It really did not matter. So like I said, I didn't care. Then as far as also character development, let's talk about a few of them. Ndani, for instance, Ndali, she was clearly dissatisfied with the status of her relationship with Tito, but when she had the opportunity, she didn't seize it to pressure him. The little I saw of her, it looked like she would be the kind of person to capitalize on an opportunity like that. But I'm not going to belabor that particular point. Here's the point I want to belabor, which is she's supposed to be this badass brand manager. But when she had a problem to solve, rather than go with skillful negotiation, she went like a tout and went straight to confrontation, and threats. And that made no sense because, you know who Lisa's father is, right? So it just told me that she knew nothing about her job. Let's not even mention that this whole J-Rocker storyline made no sense, because even if they got Lisa to delete the videos, right? These videos exist in the ether somewhere and she's an influencer. You know what I mean? So let me not even go to all the reasons why that storyline just made no sense and why it was a waste of time. As far as Freddie, that's Elozonam's character, there was some father-son dynamic there that could have been explored because it had been hinted by the other guys within the story, but also there was this imposing image or photograph of his dad in the background that seemed to be in constant judgment in the placement, right? The way it was framed also throughout the movie. But nothing came of that. And when I expected to see something come of that was towards the end when they were leaving the house, when he was leaving and then he sort of scanned. That is when that photo should have come into sharp relief, because then it would have told us a very visual story of, I have failed again, I'm a failure, and he's confronting his dad and his dad is glaring at him. Then Layo, I believe that we missed a really great character defining moment here when instead of Layo either herself showing the necklace to, in fact, when I said this to my friend, I said she should have left it on the car seat prominently so that he would find it, like he wouldn't find it by accident. She would plant it for him to see. But my friend even took it a step further and said she should have been wearing it, and then she goes to him and said, yeah, we're both L. Lisa's gone, but I'm here. But the point is that would have been a powerful character moment. It would have revealed her as a force and as a threat beyond just a mistaken murderer. But it would have been altogether better for drama. There was a fair bit of overt exposition in this movie, and exposition is not bad when it's done right, but there was just such an info dump here and as you know Bob type exposition. And then there was also quite a bit of repetition. There were a few instances of plot convenience. For instance, Bem, when Shima needed to talk to his wife about the pregnancy test kit he had found, Bem was over his dead body. But then when we needed them to come together to plot, Bem just happened to go away and leave his three, because at that point, these three were clearly antagonists in his story. So that was plot convenience. Another instance of that was how when Shima and Layo went inside, the pool area was populated. They weren't inside for that long. I know it was still a bit light when they left, and then when they came back out, it was dark. But that's production. For story, all that really happened between when they left the pool and when she came back was a prayer, and then she says, go shower. Then she comes back and the pool is miraculously emptied. Plot convenience, never want to see that. Now, the cinematography was one of the weaker points of this production. Clumsy camera work, poor angles and movement, short framing that just did not elevate storytelling. Directing could have been better, especially the art direction. Now, all in all, the visual elements of this this film could have been better put together. This was not a cohesive and immersive visual experience at all. This movie wasn't. And that brings me to poor production design. The set design was unremarkable in this movie. And this set was everything because it's a one set movie, so to speak. All the other little snippets here and there that we saw, they were just, but this was the one location, one set essentially. Everything should have been poured into this set. These guys, they're supposed to be ballers, high flyers. They're coming here to pitch billionaire ideas. This should have been luxury. You can also say that these are friends. It doesn't matter. I would go anywhere with my friends and chill with them. So it's not what it wasn't. It's about what was promised, you see. So this location and set were abysmal. The party was boring and it did not deliver on its own promise. And I say again, promise, because this party was pitched like Wolf of Wall Street meets The Great Gatsby. I didn't say it. They said it. They were like, welcome to Casa Ferdinand. Again, they said it. All holds barred, whatever it is, leave your home training, blah, blah, blah. And then we come into this place that just looked so, again, abysmal. I often recognize when something is happening on screen that appears to me contrary to what must have been on the script. And I'm ready to even go out on a limb and say that that's probably what happened here. When you write something into a script and then you're not able to execute it, you tweak it on set and not promise what you can't fulfill because it's already written into the script. That's all I'm going to say about that. The editing did not help. I don't know what that music video was. What was that? I timed it. 106 seconds is what that music video was, okay? A whole 1 minute 46 seconds is what that music video was. The dialogue later on pitching the idea of fusion between music and film, aka musical, that did not excuse that music video at all. And I don't know if that was supposed to be meta, but it didn't work. However, I did enjoy seeing that guy drinking inside water. I actually went researching if that was possible, and apparently it is. That was fun to see, but that whole thing was a waste of every minute matters. I don't even need to tell you this. Attention to detail in this movie, and I think this is going to be my final point. I could have forgiven anything, but this was just completely inexcusable. This was where this movie just went from what potentially took itself seriously as a film to what just became comedy. Honestly, at this point, I was laughing. So we have bodies adjusting and then changing seats. I'm not even playing. There were some weird subtitles there, but sometimes I'm not sure who is really responsible for the subtitles, so I'm not going to put that on the filmmakers because sometimes it could come from the streamer. I really don't know. But I'm pretty sure that Chief Ajasa did not ask his goons to cut that guy's thighs, right? Especially since he went all Ramsey Bolton on us with the sausage. Then these people kept saying weekend getaway, but none of these people appeared to have had any luggage with them. Although at the end they did have luggage, but when they were all arriving, not when they were getting into their respective cars, not when they were getting out of their cars. And again, this is not a big thing. It's just, it helps with immersion into the story. It's a little thing, but it all comes together to make the experience immersive. Most egregious of all was that post-credit scene and the epilogue.
Why? Okay, why? Why did that have to happen?
I'm asking too, did we need that scene? It's not just because the body changed seats, okay? It's not just because the body changed seats, and I cannot believe that I have to say this, but okay. But the real problem with that epilogue and the post-credit scene or whatever is that the movie spends so much time telling us how this guy is a bado and how he's no respecter of persons and authority and the law, right? And then this thing happens where he loses the jewel of his eye, his only child.
Hi, Daddy.
Hi, Daddy. Yes, Daddy.
Daddy. Thank you, Daddy. Daddy's fine.
Daddy.
And then police arrest. So that brings me to the end of things that I'll just say were outright bad, and then I'll just list a few things that to me they were just confusing, didn't make sense of them. Maybe you can help me in the comments. Do we know why there was so much emphasis on Lisa and medication? Because, you know, her father mentioned medication, she took medication in the car, she took medication again, so I have a theory about this, which is that this script was, you know what, I'm going to say that down when I'm rounding up. Also, I have a question about Layo. When did she get that necklace off Lisa, right? Because at the time when what happened, I don't know who I'm still fooling at this point. But at the point where what happened, Lisa still had that necklace on. So when did Layo take it, bro? You did not try with the no spoiler. Okay, what happened to Lisa's body? Because at no point after whatever happened by the pool did we see her body. And so in summary, I'm going to say that A Weekend to Forget, it did just enough to pass for a film. We can call it a film, but nothing to take it over the line. It was entertaining enough to pass an afternoon, but this movie is eminently forgettable. It had a great cast and the passable writing. These are what saved this movie. And I say passable writing because it was just okay. You know, it could have been great, but it ended up being just okay. So the great cast and writing, they're what, again, saved this movie or made it watchable. Let me just put it that way. And even these were completely undercut by the poor cinematography and almost every aspect of the production design. The suspense was all right. The reveal worked, but you know, there were no stakes in this movie. Only very briefly were there stakes for Bam, but even that was dissolved. And so correspondingly, there was no tension in this movie. Like truly, were you scared for anyone at any point during this film? So like I said, nothing was at stake, so I didn't care. I enjoyed this movie for what it was, you know, while recognizing that, see, it had the raw material to be so much more, especially knowing that this writer, Joy, is actually brilliant. So it hurts me when I see potential, I see raw material, I see what could be, and then this is what we get. So I'm going to have to decide how much fault to attribute to the script and how much is just incompetent filmmaking from the side of production. For the film to walk a line between great and comedy of errors in this way is almost criminal. In some ways, it felt like this script was much more extensive, and that was what I saved to say here at the end, which is that I feel like so much was taken out, was dropped out of this script, There's got to be a reason why Lisa had that medication that was made so prominent, you know, but it was dropped somehow. So I'm saying here that I feel that this script was much more extensive and that scenes were dropped in production without appropriate mopping up. And I've seen that enough in this industry as a writer to tell you that it happens, and it's very, very frustrating when that happens. But in other instances also, this script felt like a first draft that somehow became a shooting script. The sloppiness in production is just inexcusable. Like I said before, this is this director's directorial debut, and of course, you know, my hope and expectation is that it gets better from here on out. I recommend this movie if you want a fun way to pass the time, to watch beautiful people on screen, have your heart race maybe just a little. If you're ready to turn a blind eye to all these errors, the beautiful people on screen make it absolutely a worthy watch. I did enjoy this movie for what it was, but I need more from a movie than just a good way to pass 2 hours and then go back and forget all about it. Well, I couldn't because I have to do this. And so I rate this movie a 6 out of 10 for effort and for attempting a difficult genre and for nearly pulling it off. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this review. Please check out my other videos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and support my channel. I'm wishing you a wonderful new year, and I'm wishing all of us truly amazing cinema this year. This is a brand new year in which we will continue to exert our right to an incredible viewing experience. So never settle. Thank you.